Okay, we have Cut Hands, Deftones, from the new Private Music album. This is an unofficial 6-string standard tuning interpretation for this. Basically, the official way, you would need, your 8-string or 7-string dropped, but even the 8-string needs to be dropped to E. Okay, so it would be in a low E, then you would have the B, then the E again, and then, 6-string A, D, G, B, E. So, I suppose if I get enough requests, I could bust that out. But this here, just for, the larger audience here, I'm just doing an interpreted, regular 6-string standard tuning, E, A, D, G, B, E. And basically that just means any of the E power chords we're using here are going to be an octave higher than would be in the recording. So that's what's going on there. And other than that, there's some interesting bending things I could show you here. It's really a big part of the riff. So this initial intro and verse section, we just want that big E power chord. So we're an octave higher than you would hear it on the record, but this is what we're doing. So here we go. So power chord, let it ring. Then we do the 2 on the D, and then open B. And then we start this bending riff, which is basically the low E note being bent up, just half a step there. So it's kind of like just a E to F kind of toggle there. And there's a couple ways you can do it. If you have a tremolo arm, you can just hit the note and then just lift up. All right, and it's a kind of a double bend. So, all right, and that's the option for that. And that'd crank that out about 4 times. You can do that, or you can do just a behind the nut bend. All right, and that may very well be what he's doing. We'll find out eventually with his playthrough, I suppose. All right, so a couple options there, either the bar or behind the nut. All right, and that whole pattern would just go through, a handful of times. The chorus section, just straight up chords here. Start with this compounded B power chord. So we got the 2A, 4 on the D and G, and then throw the 2 on the E on top of it for the F sharp. Alright, and then just go to the F sharp power chord, so just, keep that same 2 on the E, and then we want the 4 on the A and the D. And just bump it up a fret for the G, let that ring, and then just come off to the E power chord. Alright, and then the second run through, hit the E power chord, then go to the F sharp, then the G. Hold it, and then just back off to the E. Alright, and just kind of start from the beginning in there. The B, F sharp, G, off to E. Okay, then the E to F sharp. And then the final run through there, we just come up to the compounded C. So just do the 3A, 5D and G, 3G. Hit that, just let it ring as a transition to the next section. The bridge section, kind of 2 parts here, and then we even get a little bit of a lead over the top of it. It basically just kind of does another bending riff, but just in the A position here. So just zoom up here to the A power chord, 5 E, 7 on the A and D. And with this one, it's like we kind of hit it, and then we do one more hit, bend release. Okay, so it's just kind of a little bit different style of a bend. Alright, we just go through it 3 times. And then we want that C compounded power chord again, so the 3's on the E and A with the 5 on the D and G. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and just crank through that. Alright, and it would go through that, about 4 times. And then it just comes back off to the open low E bend. Does it 4 times. Sorry, 3 times. Alright, either way you want. And then we hit G power chords, the 3 E, 5 on the A and D, 1, 2, 3. All right, and it just goes through that 4 times. And over the top of that section is where we would get the lead bit. But just for like the chords happening, you know, at the very end, we just kind of hang on that compounded C again. The 3s with the 5s. All right, and the lead over the top of the second part, it's just kind of a pretty simple B and E string thing you can do. Open B, 2 on the E, kind of hold it a moment, slide up to 5. All right, and then we just basically go the other way around. We go open B, slide the 5 down to 2. And then we do a little bend and release on the 2. All right, and just go through that twice. All right. And the outro section here can be a little tricky. I suppose you could do it with the behind the net style bend, but if you're really fast, you know, you need to be pretty quick with that. So definitely the tremolo is the way you'd want to go for this end riff, where it's, you know, the open bend and release. Okay. And then after each double bend like that, we just hit a dissonant, you know, F with a E. So just 6 on the B here and the open high E under it. Okay. And it just keeps back and forth like that. Double bend, hit, double bend, hit. Okay. And it just carries that all the way out to the end of the song.